The movie opens with the French police keeping an eye on an apartment owned by a British woman named Elise Clifton Ward. Soon we see her leaving her apartment and walking into a cafe. We also see that she is being followed through downtown Paris by the French police who are working with Scotland Yard under the direction of Inspector John Acheson. Acheson has spent years hunting Alexander Pierce, Elise's lover, who owes £744 million in taxes and is believed to have received plastic surgery to alter his appearance. He is also being hunted by Reginald Shaw, a mobster from whom Pierce had stolen $2.3 billion. At a Parisian cafe, Elise receives a courier delivered by hand. The package had written instructions from Pierce. As per the letter, she is ordered to board the train to Venice and to pick out a man and let the police believe that the unknown man is Pierce. He also adds in the letter that she should choose a man who would match his height and build to make it easier to deceive the cops. While she is reading the letter, we see her being surrounded by undercover cops who keep a sharp eye on her movements. Elise burns the note, and seeing this, Acheson sends some of his men who retrieve the ashes of the letter for forensic investigation. Understanding that she is being followed, Elise waits near a subway, and just as a train approaches, she starts walking. The cops try to follow, but the outgoing crowd of passengers make it hard for them to catch Elise. Using her smartness, she evades the police and successfully boards the train to Venice. Back at the police department of Scotland Yard, we learn that Acheson's efforts to catch Pierce has already cost £8 million. Chief Inspector Jones believes that Acheson has no chance of apprehending Pierce and hence orders him to stop the investigation. But as we can see, Acheson has taken it on his ego to catch Alexander Pierce and hence continues the investigation covertly. On the train, Elise searches for the best scapegoat and finally selects a man named Frank Tupelo. She introduces herself and immediately charms him using her aura. Here we get to learn that Frank is a mathematics teacher from a community college in Wisconsin. Acheson hires an expert and using his help, tries to salvage information about Pierce's plan from the remains of the burned note. Meanwhile, one of the French agents, who is still following Elise, sends Frank's photo to Acheson. He orders his men to run a facial recognition of Frank and finds that he is a maths teacher who lost his wife 3 years ago in a car accident. He is a tourist headed to Venice. At the same time, Acheson also discovers that Pierce had ordered Elise to find a scapegoat to deceive the police. Acheson had the Italian Interpol at the Venice station to arrest Frank as soon as the train arrived, but after learning Frank's true identity, he cancels the operation. Aware of Elise's location, but not of the ruse, a British policeman on Shaw's payroll alerts Shaw that Pierce is on a train to Venice accompanied by Elise. Shaw immediately proceeds to Venice with his entourage. Poe's landing in Venice, he instructs his men that they can kill Elise, but not Pierce, as needs him to get his money back. He adds that they may be staying in one of the 3 grand hotels in Venice, namely the Gritti, the Regina, or the Daniele. Elise and Frank get off at the Venice train station and go their separate ways. She hires a water taxi and finds Frank at the pier, looking at maps of Venice and hence invites him to stay with her at the Hotel Daniele. Elise's room at her usual hotel is already outfitted with a selection of expensive gown, footwear, and jewelry, making Frank understand that her boyfriend is quite rich, and this also makes him jealous. This leads us to believe that he is slowly falling in love with her. Elise takes Frank for dinner, where Frank guesses that she is waiting for her boyfriend. She admits that she has been summoned to Venice after not hearing from her boyfriend in 2 years. Here, we see her bracelet which has the Roman god, Janus, carved in it. She adds that Janus teaches us that everyone has a past and a future, comprising of both good and evil, and we must embrace both in someone we love. Hearing this, he compliments her, and this makes her smile, indicating that she, too, is falling for him. Back at her room, Elise receives flowers and a second note from Pierce, inviting her to a ball, which will take place after 2 days. She goes to the balcony and sees agents watching her, and hence kisses Frank to give the clear indication to the agents that he is indeed Pierce. Next day, Frank wakes up only to find that she had already checked out of the hotel, and this disappoints him. But all of a sudden, we see 2 men entering his room and demand that he come with them. Understanding the danger, he flees to another room and locks himself. Seeing no other way, he jumps out of the window on the roof of another building, and here, we see a dramatic chase, where Shaw's men try to apprehend him, but he manages to escape by the skin of teeth. While escaping, he creates chaos inside a fruit market and hence gets detained by the Italian local police. The Italian Interpol was monitoring the situation, and Atchison was very clear that Elise has engaged Frank to distract them, and hence tells the Italians that Frank is not their mandate. Frank is interrogated by a police inspector, and he narrates the entire story to him. The inspector holds Frank in a lockup to verify his story. Later that night, the inspector takes him out, saying that it is not safe for him to remain locked up. But to our shock, he leads him to an isolated place where several men appear from the shadows, indicating that they are Shaw's men. Frank realizes that he is being handed over to Shaw's men for a bounty, but cannot escape as he is in handcuffs. But just at the right moment, Elise rescues Frank by towing away his boat after securing it to her own. This leads to Shaw's men on an extended boat chase. They shoot at her multiple times, and just when Elise was about to be shot, Frank uses his feet to control the wheel, stopping one of the hitmen by hitting him with a boat. They evade several other hitmen before finally escaping to open waters. She is apologetic to get Frank involved in this. She also discloses to Frank that Shaw is British, who surrounds himself with Russian hitmen. Pierce used to be his private banker and stole $2.3 billion from him. Frank says that he doesn't regret kissing Elise, and this takes her by shock. She still follows Pierce's instructions from the letter and hence leaves Frank at the airport with his passport and money, urging him to go home for his own safety. Elise expresses her wish about meeting Frank in another life, thereby admitting that she had feelings for Frank, but is loyal to Pierce. On the other hand, we see Shaw receiving the news that his men have failed to capture Pierce and kill his girlfriend. In order to vent his frustration, he kills one of the hitmen who failed him. This scene shows us his brutal and merciless nature. In a shocking twist of events, Elise is revealed to be an undercover Scotland Yard agent who was under suspension for her suspected affair with Pierce. She meets with Atchison, and here we learn that she agreed to participate in a sting operation to bring Pierce to justice, but went completely silent after falling in love with him. Elise agrees to finally help Atchison in catching Pierce, and hence he gives her a recording device to wear beneath her dress before she goes to the ball. The scene cuts to the ball, where Elise tries to find Pierce, and Atchison keeps an eye on the surroundings and on Elise. All of a sudden, a man places an envelope on her table and disappears into the crowd. She tries to follow him, but is stopped by Frank, who claims to be in love with her and invites her to dance. Elise is taken aback by his sudden appearance, and Atchison orders his men to take Frank into protective custody. Elise reads the note, which contains an apartment number and a key, and hence she leaves in her boat, tailed by Shaw's men. We also see that both parties are followed by the police. Elise lands at the apartment specified in the letter, but to our shock, as soon as she enters it, Shaw takes her hostage. He threatens to harm her unless she reveals the location of a hidden safe where Pierce is keeping the stolen money, and we also see the police monitoring the situation via hidden cameras. Even though the snipers ask for permission to fire in order to save Elise, Atchison repeatedly refuses to allow them to intervene, as he is waiting for Pierce to show up. He also reveals to Frank that Elise is an undercover agent and can take care of herself. But being her lover, Frank could not bear to watch Elise in such grave danger, and hence, taking advantage of Atchison being distracted by the live coverage in the camera, he escapes. Post entering the apartment, he confronts Shaw, claiming to be Pierce and offering to open the safe, only if Elise is allowed to leave. Shaw in turn threatens Frank to open the safe, or he will have Elise tortured in front of his eyes. Seeing Atchison still hesitant to order the hit, Chief Inspector Jones arrives at the police stakeout, overrides Atchison, and orders the snipers to fire. This leads to the killing of Shaw and his men. Thanks to Inspector Jones, the couple breathe a sigh of relief. To Elise's obvious pleasure, Jones lifts her suspension and fires her on the spot, meaning that she is free from her services. It is at this point that Atchison receives a message from his men that Pierce has been found nearby. But to his shock, after arriving there, he learns that the police have detained an unknown Englishman. The man says that he is only a tourist and is being paid to follow instructions from an unknown person, and he is not Pierce. Here we understand that Pierce had hired him to divert their attention. Elise tells Frank that she loves him, but she also loves Pierce. In a shocking twist of events, Frank opens the safe by entering the correct code, revealing that he was Alexander Pierce all along. When the police come back and open the safe, Jones finds one check for £744 million, meaning that Pierce has successfully cleared his taxes. Atchison prepares to pursue Pierce, but since the taxes are now paid, Jones closes the case. Finally, we see Pierce and Elise sail away together while Atchison is left scratching his head after realizing that he was being played by Pierce all along. This is how the movie ends. If you like this recap, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.